My name's Jade. My husband is serving currently in the Royal Engineers. We have 3 children. My eldest son, Joey, has autism and ADHD. He was diagnosed back in 2015 at the age of 2. He's now coming up to 10. Within that time, we have lived in Germany, in North Yorkshire and in Hampshire, with a stop off in Kent in between. So we've been very experienced with moving, dealing with EHCPs, trying to transfer the care. I think the biggest difficulty for us has been the regular moving or not knowing how long we're going to be able to be in one place. And as mentioned, the transferring the care over. So from one county to another, you could find yourself in a position where actually you've got quite a lot of support in place, which has been quite difficult to get a lot of the time, or there's been long waiting lists. And then suddenly you're moving and you're back to nothing. And I think in our experience, even things like the Armed Forces Covenant that is designed to make sure you're not under those long waiting lists again and you're not disadvantaged. It's a real postcode lottery as to whether people accept that or people are aware of it, and trying to find sort of the gatekeepers, the people that are responsible for that, can be very difficult. On top of that, I think there is still an element, particularly in our situation, where the main caring responsibilities falls on me as the spouse rather than my husband that's serving. Trying to weigh up the demands of his career and the demands of being a parent carer is a real juggle, really. I think the postcode lottery that we mentioned before has played a huge factor in our experience. We were posted up in Ripon in North Yorkshire, where my son had really good access to regular occupational therapy, which was quite an integral part of his support and his development, and speech and language therapy. When we moved, despite that being written into his EHCP as his needs and what he needs to be, how he needs to be supported, we moved to an area that we were then told he doesn't qualify for occupational therapy within this area because he doesn't have a physical disability. So those kind of barriers we've had in different locations, different variations, but that's been really difficult because it then starts a whole new battle really to get those services. But it also means that for Joey, he has these long gaps where the support that he was getting continuously suddenly stops. So even when you do get it eventually, it's restarting from the beginning and constantly taking a step backwards. So I think that's probably been the biggest barrier for us. One particular incident that stands out to me is that when we was in Yorkshire, my son was offered through his occupational therapist some equine therapy, so horse riding lessons, which is really beneficial to children with additional needs. It was the first time we'd been offered anything like that, so quite exciting for Joey to go and try something new. The lessons were about 50 minutes away, and at that time I also had to get his younger sibling into school, and I also had quite a newborn baby. And I remember saying, you know, I can't do this on my own. We need to get him to the lessons, but actually to my husband, I really need you to be available to either take him or to get the other one to school, look after the baby. And he put it forward to his chain of command, and the response was, can't one of the other wives help? Which for me was really sort of a low blow, because I felt at that time, you know, these are his children as well. Once again, that responsibility was coming solely on me. And it was stressful. You know, you can imagine trying to have a newborn baby as well as trying to help your child who has autism and doesn't cope with change very well into a new experience. But it was actually something that was very, very beneficial for Joey. And I felt the disappointment was that I felt that it was seen as me asking to take him to a horse riding lesson as a fun leisurely activity, not this was something that's quite integral to his health and his well-being. So I think that sort of lack of understanding was there really, rather than, I don't think it was done maliciously, but I think again it is that attitude of, well, it's the wife's job or the stay-at-home parent's job, rather than this is his responsibility too. Cara and Ross, when we moved back from Germany, she was the first person I contacted saying, we don't know what to do. You know, we've just moved back from Germany. We're only going to be in Kent for 6 months and then we're moving up to Yorkshire. But we're at the point, my son's on a pathway for diagnosis. I don't know what I'm supposed to do here. I don't know how to get the support. Are we going to get any in Kent? Do we have to wait? I don't want to wait another 6 months with no support. But equally, do we have to start again when we get to Yorkshire? And it was actually the AFF that introduced me to the concept of an EHCP plan. I'd never ever heard of it, and you know, you go through a diagnosis and this whole world of SEN is just so unknown to you. And Karen was really key in just sort of holding my hand and saying, this is what we need to do. We've got enough time that if we apply for a plan now, by the time you get to Yorkshire, you at least have a basis of what support Joey needs to get into nursery and school, and you know, to set you up. And that help to me was invaluable, because I don't know where else I would have gone at that time.